What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there. Today we're talking about those backfields to avoid in 2021 fantasy football. Now, no, I'm not saying these players aren't good and that they're not going to have good weeks. I'm sure they will at some point. The problem is it's going to be an absolute headache trying to figure out who's it going to be on any given week, kind of like we've seen in the past with the New England Patriots, who are basically permanent fixtures on this show. I don't even need to mention them. We know they're going to be a headache on a weekly basis, but I got 4 other teams that I'm probably going to be avoiding altogether here in 2021. Now, you can see here right over my shoulder, we have ourselves an autographed Najee Harris football. We're giving it away over on Headliner U, our college football channel. If you're interested in winning that football, head over to that channel. After this show is over, they'll give you all the details of what you need to do to get yourselves entered. But for as of right now, let's talk about the first team that I really want nothing to do with their backfield here in 2021, and it's none other than the Detroit Lions. Now, being that it's the Lions, I really shouldn't have to put together more of an argument, right? I mean, it's the Lions. But we've loved the ability of DeAndre Swift for a long time over here. Heck, one of the jerseys over my shoulder, an autographed DeAndre Swift jersey that we're going to be giving away here soon. But then they went out and they added Jamal Williams in free agency. Don't love that for fantasy football. Now, don't get me wrong. NFL-wise, not a bad signing at all for the Lions. It just sucks for fantasy football because that's going to take away some of that potential volume that maybe we thought would go the way of DeAndre Swift earlier in the offseason. NFL-wise, though, don't hate the move because Kerryon Johnson, as a backup running back, just can't seem to stay healthy like ever. Like, he just can't, which is, it's disheartening because the kid has talent as well. But now they also have a new quarterback under center. Jared Goff, now the quarterback, as of right now, of the Detroit Lions. But he has what you would like to call limited weapons. Not a whole lot of people to throw the ball to. So what does that mean for opposing defenses? They can probably stack the boxes a little bit more and take away the running game and force Jared Goff to beat them with wide receivers that most people have no idea who they are on a weekly basis. But one of the biggest issues here is the Lions just aren't going to have a whole lot of leads, right? We want those guys that are going to get those garbage points. Garbage points are king in fantasy football, right? We want them to get the ball late. We want them to rack up those touches, run the ball in the fourth quarter, hold that lead. Does any of that sound like the Detroit Lions? I really don't think so. And then when you look at their schedule, they're going to have a lot of top offenses that they're going to try to have to hold down on a weekly basis. What about Cleveland, Green Bay twice, heck, even Minnesota twice, Arizona, Baltimore, the Rams, Pittsburgh, Seattle? I mean, their schedule is absolutely stacked with offensive firepower, and it's going to be hard for them to really keep those scores close on a weekly basis and really utilize that running game. For that reason right there, I'm just going to avoid the backfield of the Lions altogether. Next up now, the Las Vegas Raiders, and I don't know if there's anybody that was more excited in 2020 for Josh Jacobs than us. I mean, we went to the Combine, we sat there, we talked with Mike Mayock. He basically said that Josh Jacobs is about to head to the moon, right? So we expected that huge leap forward, and he didn't disappoint at times. The problem is, once again, he struggled to stay completely healthy, and really down the stretch started to upset a lot of fantasy owners, right? The middle finger emoji on Instagram, that didn't help nobody's cause. The falling before the end zone there at the end of the season to avoid the touchdown to keep the clock, that made no sense whatsoever. He upset a lot of people the end of 2020. However, despite all of that, he still finished as a top 10 running back in fantasy football. He just struggled to stay healthy, which really could have limited his upside somewhat during the 2020 season. It's probably why they went out and they signed Kenyon Drake. Now, Kenyon Drake does not suck when utilized correctly in an NFL offense. He's not some, 300 touch guy who's going to go out there and just pound it between the tackles. That's not what he's supposed to do. Get him the ball in space, he can make things happen. And mostly they want Josh Jacobs to be fresh here, right? They don't want to continue to run him down, to beat him down to the point where he's not 100% on a weekly basis. Kind of share that load a little bit with Kenyon Drake and really keep the running game productive for the Raiders. Now, if you look back over the history of John Gruden's coaching career, he typically does like a 2-to-1 split in his backfields. 200 or so touches for the number 1 guy, about 100 or so touches for the number 2. Last year, they gave Josh Jacobs 306 touches. That's probably why he can't stay healthy. He's just not, built to withstand that many touches on a yearly basis. They need to take some of that pressure off of him. That's why they brought in Kenyon Drake, who, he's going to take away some of that volume. The problem with that is Josh Jacobs kind of needs that volume because at times he's not overly efficient, right? We don't want to make him touchdown dependent, which he will be if he loses 100 or so touches this year to Kenyon Drake. We don't buy touchdowns over here. We buy touchdown opportunities. And as of right now, I don't know how many opportunities the Raiders are going to give this backfield at those goal line touchdowns. They need to add more weapons on the offensive line and in the passing game. There's just not enough there for me to go out there and say, yeah, the Raiders, they're going to score a lot of points. I want a piece of that backfield. It's going to be a headache each and every week trying to figure out who's going to get that touchdown, who's going to get the bulk of the touches, who breaks off the big run. It's going to go back and forth, and I'd rather just avoid that one altogether. The next one may be a surprise. It may not be. I mean, if this team had a true number one running back on their roster that they were going to feed the ball to weekly, they would be well inside the top 10 as far as running backs go in fantasy football, but they don't, so there goes that idea. What about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I mean, we thought Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones together were hard to figure out. Well, now they've gone out and they've signed Gio Bernard because they really need more depth in the pass-catching game out of the backfield because Ronald Jones continues to drop passes. That's a problem. So now we have 3 running backs that we got to deal with in Tampa Bay. I mean, each of these guys are going to have a good week at some point throughout the season. People will rush to pick them up off their waiver wire, and then the next week they're going to go out there and get like 3 touches. It's going to be a nightmare. We already know that Bruce Arians gives 0 Fs about your fantasy football team. He does not care, and he's going to create a weekly nightmare. It sucks, though, because, I mean, we expect Tampa Bay to have a lot of leads, right? We talked about this earlier. They're going to have a lot of late leads. They're going to be running the football a lot late in ball games. But who's going to be running it? Is it Ronald Jones? Is it Leonard Fournette? If I had to guess, it's just a guess, and I'd say it'd be Leonard Fournette, but we don't know that for sure. It could change on a weekly basis. Who's going to get the bulk of that volume? We just don't know. And if you don't know on draft day, what are you really drafting? A question mark? I don't want to draft a question mark. I want to draft somebody who I know is going to produce for my fantasy football team. We know it's not a run-first team in Tampa Bay anyway, right? They're going to throw the ball a lot with Tom Brady and all the weapons in the passing game. They had the 4th fewest rush attempts out of all NFL teams in 2020. This backfield is full of talent. If it was any one of these guys, I would probably be happy to own them. But the fact that all 3 of them are together on this team with this coaching staff in this type of offense, I can't afford it. I'm going to pass on everybody there in Tampa Bay in 2021. Lastly, what about the Buffalo Bills? Now, sure, last year we gave Devin Singletary a new nickname. Damn it, Devin, because you found yourself saying that more often than not when you watched him play football on Sundays. The talent is there. He just can't seem to get over the hump. You know what I mean? It's there, and then it's just not there. It's confusing with Devin Singletary, and especially the way that this offense is built in Buffalo. They don't really need to overly utilize him because, I mean, let's be honest, Josh Allen is basically their running back 1. Zach Moss, I mean, he is what he is, right? The doc told you about him preseason last year. They told you that he was going to be constantly banged up, not going to get a whole lot of opportunities. It's kind of what happens, right? I mean, this team is built around throwing the football, and they do it really well. Right? I mean, with Josh Allen taking a huge leap forward in 2020, we already know about Stephon Diggs. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders. They got a case of the Beasles. I mean, there's a lot of talent there in Buffalo. They're going to be able to throw the ball all over the field. Why are they going to waste their time getting 2, 3, 4 yards a carry possibly with Zach Moss or Devin Singletary? Sure, there'll be a time where Zach Moss catches a touchdown pass. There'll be a time where Devin Singletary will break off a 20 or 30-yard run. They're going to show that promise. It's just not going to be consistent in this offense, and that's what's going to be the hugest headache. If hugest isn't a word, don't worry. I just created it here on the fly. But similar to Tampa Bay, right? We know Buffalo is going to have a lot of leads, right? They're going to have a lot of fourth quarter leads where they could really just pound the rock if they wanted to. Did they do that in 2020? Do they do it in 2021? Why change what's already worked in the past? They're not going to just pound the rock on the ground. Unless they, do something in the draft that kind of catches people by surprise. This is not going to be a backfield that's going to be overly productive as a whole. Like I said, Josh Allen, he's the running back 1 in Buffalo, not Devin Singletary, not Zach Moss. I was always taught the saying, burn me once, shame on you. Burn me twice, shame on me. I've been burned by Devin Singletary. I'm not taking that chance again here in 2021. All right, so those are 4 teams that I'm really just avoiding altogether as of right now here in 2021 fantasy football. This is still pre-draft, so obviously things can change, but it's just not looking promising for these backfields here this year. I want to know what you think, though. What are you doing with these backfields? Are you avoiding the Buffalo Bills, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Detroit Lions? I mean, are you avoiding these teams? Are you actively looking for them? Maybe is getting them a little bit cheaper this year because people are scared. Do you still want to buy into Josh Jacobs? Do you think that he still has a top 12 season in him despite Kenyon Drake being in this backfield? A lot of questions need to be answered, and we're hoping to get a little bit more clarity as the offseason progresses. But just a quick reminder, our draft guide is available for pre-order over on our website, thefantasyheadliners.com. You can get it for only $14.99 right now. The price is going to be going up here soon, so make sure you get yours now if you want to. And also, you're looking for that autographed Najee Harris football, head over to Headliner U, link down in the description. They'll give you all the details on what you need to do to enter in that free giveaway. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you later.